And hello, a happy Kabuki 19 virus morning to you. For those of you out there in the world, you know that I am a Stihl fan. Well, here we are. This one I picked up for Debbie with GTA26. Now, why we picked it up is Debbie has a disability, so her left hand is excellent and her right hand, no, not so much. They work together well, but she needed something to cut with. Your normal standard clippers don't work well. And we bought an HSA. Was that one a 25 or 26? Can't remember, but it's a little hedge clipper. Fact is, I should look at this. Yes, it is a 26. And the hedge clipper worked excellent. But the problem of it was it cut. I have an HSA 56. And I was out there trimming stuff that I couldn't even trim with my old home light gas trimmer. Thing was buzzing right through the stuff. 36 volt system. Well, their little hand jobby is a 12 volt. And the 12 volt just can't quite cut things up to about ½ inch maybe. And then after that, it couldn't. So I said, well, Debbie, if you're going to start the job, you need to finish. She's been a sweetheart over the years for this stuff. But she wants to keep going. She's a stubborn little girl, which is why she's sexy too. Anyway, yeah, she'll be a sexy 60, and the rest of you don't care. That's good for me. Anyway, the little GTA26 is an actual, they're calling it a trimmer and a limmer, but this is an actual chainsaw. What's on here is a 1/4 inch chain that they call it a micro pico. I forgot what the variety was, but it's basically in that pico system, the small. But this isn't your old fashioned grandpa's 1/4 inch chain they used to have in the small saws. No. This one is a narrower curve, and this one actually has a smaller tooth, smaller raker, but this is wood carver's chain. Excellent. How do I know? I have an MSA 120C, same chain, high speed. This little thing buzzes through stuff that you wouldn't even imagine. And the idea of having a smaller 1/4 inch chain at a higher speed means more teeth contact per second than would on other systems, which I'll get to in a moment. And when this has a safety lever here, and to give you an idea of the speed, ooh, little wood chips all over, and she even cleaned it up. Yes, that speed is critical. Now this safety works on both sides. Obviously, you have your battery gauge. It's not in the battery itself. Now the thing about Stihl is if you just ran the motor, the gauges on the battery or here don't work. You have to give them 1 to 2 seconds to slow down, and then they do a reading. Battery on this one is easier to take out than the HSA. Slides right out. They are 2 different batteries. Don't get them confused because it won't work. This is a 10.8 system, and I do believe that the HSA is a 10.8, but a different system. Chain tightening. Now loosen, tight, turn it. You can change the tension. Now on this is a different tension than most saws. They actually want a little teeny bit of sag. They're trying to cut down the friction. Your battery lasts longer, it cuts better. But you only want a little bit of sag off that bar. We're talking 1/16 of an inch. And it's a little hard to get because it's a little 4-inch bar. But what I'm here to tell you is when this rascal cuts, it cuts. And the interesting thing is it's natural. It's in your wrist, it's here. You would think 90 would be more natural, and some others would say straight. But when the motor's back here, your hand is here. One of the greatest things is, there you go. That's in your hand. And you have the weight back here, which is one of the greatest things with carpal tunnel. You don't have to grip it and hold it. You're controlling it. You're just keeping it in your hand. It's a beautiful little rig. I highly recommend. I cut with it more than Debbie, and I said, you've got to try this thing. She said, yeah. Finally, 2 weeks later plus, we're out trimming leftovers from a couple of trees in our front yard, and Debbie pulls this thing in. She says, I even used my little saw finder. Really? So how'd you like it? She got a smile on her face, and she kind of tilted her head a little and gave me a thumbs up with a big smile. She didn't know how to describe it. So if you're out there with a disability, look into one of these things. If you want to keep going, it may be helpful. And the idea here is safety. You can't fall on it as easily. You can still cut with a nose as well if you have to. Now, there's some dillweed. I can't even remember who it was. I wish I did. On Instagram, there is a dillweed tree pruner. I know you call him arborist or whatever. He's up there with a talk on. He's got a tree that's darn near 8 inches. He cut the thing off with this thing. It was enough to leave a hinge. He just shows it making the back cut smooth as silk all the way across. He's holding it up proud as can be. Probably wiped out the battery, but he dropped the top of a tree with one of these. So I think it'll handle your fruit tree trimming, your backyard trimming, and etc. If you're in a nursery, I definitely recommend this rascal if you're running a lot of trees for trimming. Possibly even cutting the buggers down. If for no other reason, safety. You've got this little devil that'll cut off your nursery trees very easily, very cleanly if you need to, or trim very easily and very cleanly. Yes, I know, you're pulling the whole root ball and sending it, but if you're trimming, cutting off, getting rid of a tree, culling, I guess is the word, then that'll make a difference. But the simplicity of this rascal is insane. I do have one thing for you Stihl people out there in Stihl land, and not customers, actual designers. You need to work on the idea of this battery and the HSA interchanging. I know they're two separate systems. We had the problem. Komatsu, when I worked for Komatsu, we have the same thing. There were engineering departments for the bulldozers, engineering departments for the backhoes, engineering departments for the excavators, engineering departments separate for the loaders. And the problem we came in was that all their electronics had different language. They're all top notch, all top rate. We had the exact same quality out of all of them. That wasn't the problem. The problem was going from one to the other to the other. In fact, it even got bad in the excavators, where they have utility small, utility large, medium, and each one would have its own separate software. Ultra short swing, the US, LCUS, then what I'm saying here is the HSA and the GTA, you need to combine the two so they're the same battery system, same chargers. If you do something like that, then it takes you into the next marketing level, where it'll be a lot easier. But as far as handling, I have no complaint from either. The battery life of both is excellent. The charging is excellent. The power of all of them is excellent. And you're talking to somebody who's worked with Stihl. Was 81 or 82? I'm going to go with the end of 81. I found a second I was fresh out of college, started a job, and a drought hit. So I was into another job, and then later on ended up going back to lawn and garden, because that's the only thing that was moving. Fields couldn't be irrigated, but lawns could. And factories took care of their lawns, and guess what? That's where the job was in Rochester, New York region. But for you folks, if Stihl can make the battery system similar to they do to the homeowner series and the professional series. If I go to buy a homeowner chainsaw, lawnmower, the homeowner series, the weed trimmer, and the hedge clipper, my AK series batteries fits all of them. Now there's a 10, 20, and 30 in that series, but they all interchange. The 10 in a chainsaw, it's pointless. It's not going to last very long. But if you're desperate, it works. You can put it in a lawnmower, but that's not even going to be, don't pull a trigger. Because all you're going to do is ruin your motor after a while and kill your battery. Discharge it so fast you'll cook your battery. End of life. But if you had to take the lawnmower battery and go down, you could take that very expensive AK30 battery that weighs mondo pounds. It works excellent in the lawnmower, and you could take it to your chainsaw and to your trimmers. I don't recommend necessarily throwing it in there. Each one of these things has its own user rate, where it's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. It's a cycling thing. And the motors get a chance to cool down. You put that AK30 battery into your weed trimmer and you start running around, A, it's a lot heavier. B, your run time is going to be insane, and your motor isn't going to have that chance to cool down between battery changes. Do I think Stihl has built an inappropriate motor? Let me give you an example of my arrogance with Stihl. I went to buy the first one, my chainsaw, the MSA120C, and I had to convince the local dealer to send it up from one of their other branches. We don't sell those. They're junk. So, are you serious? Yeah, why? I said, I've been with Stihl for almost 40 years. There's nothing they've built that's been a junker except not even the '09. The Orange Series when it came out was a total junker. They had an '09 and an '10. But compared to Stihl's standard, they were horrible. But compared to the other brands out there in the market, they were inexpensive and great homeowner saws. They did work great when they worked. They had some stupid minor problems at the next series. They improved. They should have done it beforehand, but they were going by marketing. We were coming out of a depression era in the late 70s, coming into the 80s, and that's what they were making this saw for, because their 015 was considered a homeowner in Germany, but they used it as a professional saw in the U.S. It was built so well. Well, they needed something in the lower price range. So out came the '09, '10s. Later on, they boosted and kept the '09 series, and then they had the '11 series, '12, and when they fixed that saw, the handling, the weight, the power, it's a beautiful rig. But they had to come up with some better reed valves, some better carburetors, and that was their main problem. So they built some stinkers in the past, but since then, nah, I don't think so. They had one that was called an 048 that was a problem because it vibrated itself apart. Yeah, it was the first saw they built with that kind of torque and power for the weight that would turn 15,000 RPM just playing around. And cutting speed was 12 or 13. The thing was wild. They should have left it an 042, but that 048, they had nothing in the Stihl line with better performance than that saw at the time. But it didn't handle it well. People loved the scream, so they left it there. But you had to turn it down to a double blubber to keep the RPM into a better range, 14 or down. The thing was just wild. Had more trouble with those things than you can imagine, but the performance was insane, and Stihl learned a lot. Their next series of saws after that was pretty good, but that much better. So there's a couple of stinkers in nearly 40 years of Stihl that I've been around. So they're not perfect, but dang. Virginia Beach had to come up to speed. They did. So all I can tell you is that when I went to buy the MSA120C, I laughed at him and said, you got to be kidding me. It's a Stihl. Yeah, but it's electric. We don't know anything about them. I said, it's a Stihl. This is like you're working with some John Deere thing. Oh, sorry, they were a John Deere dealer. I said, don't worry about it. I'll take the saw. Yeah, but we don't. I know you don't have parts. You don't have any. It's fine. It's okay. Just sell me the saw. It took a while. They did, and they still. When I signed for it. Now remember, I can't. It's okay. Stop. I bought a Stihl. I'm not worried. I still have it. Of course, I have it. I use that thing almost as much as my other saws. I love Stihl. So when it came time to buy this, I called Greenfield Power the instant I saw it on Instagram and said, as soon as they come in, let me know. Or I said I want a GTA26. Can you tell me anything about them? He says, we got a case of them on order. Greenfield Power. Down in Greenfield, Pennsylvania. Or near there. Let me tell you. You want it? And if it's in their wheelhouse, you're going to get it. He didn't even question these things. They had a case ordered before they were released. He knows. If you call Greenfield Power down there, it's Jeff 1 and Jeff 2. Dad and son. I usually end up talking with the son. Not sure why, but mostly because I run into him at the fairs. Dad does his own thing. He runs the numbers. He runs the back. Junior has the front. Smiles. Dad handles the locals that he knows. Outsiders, Junior can have them. As long as he's making money, they're all happy. So anyway, the HSA 25, GTA 26, down on a 10 volt system, 10.8, MSA 120C, beautiful 36 volt system. We've got the RMA 460 lawnmower that has the AK-30 batteries in it, 2 of them. We bought it with 2 batteries. That way you can keep going. The funny thing about that lawnmower is the power is insane. I went out there, put the bagger on it, and pulled all the baffles out, closed the side cover off, and put the bagger on, and ran through and filled the bagger up and looked, and I said, that rascal's bulging. Boy, that's blowing a lot of air. Shut the motor off. It wasn't air. The bagger was packed full, and the thing changed. Because it's packed, can't get out, it went to mulching. Yes, it has a high enough lift to fill the bag, pack the bag, stuff the bag, and then it'll just turn over to mulching, and you won't know the difference because you look down at the lawn. There's nothing in the lawn because it chewed it up so fine it put it back down in the lawn. Yes, and I come back to the day when what used to be called the Orbit Air lawnmower, Boland's bought and turned into the Boland's mulcher in the late 70s and early 80s. That was the mulcher of renown. Even today, they follow that design on the blades. My snapper, you get a mulcher blade for it, it looks almost identical to what the old Boland's mulcher blade did from 1980. So it's a great design. Well, Stihl has something of their own variety, and obviously it works. It's an animal. So then I have the, what is it, the other one there? The HSA 56. Yeah, the FSA 56. Compatible trimmer and hedge clipper. We've got quite the lineup. Just purchased an MS 311. I've had an MS 270 for over 10 years and never put a carburetor kit in it, even for the first 5 years of its life running gasohol. I don't know why. The only thing we can figure is the concoction I put in there somehow undid the problems of the ethanol fuel. An MS 250, and I have an old 020 Stihl. 020 way back. We're talking something probably around 1980 or prior. That thing is an animal. I was cutting with it yesterday. I put a 12-inch bar on it. It makes you want to put a 20-inch bar on it. It shot right through an 8-inch tree like it was butter. Oh. And the new ones, the MS 200s, 200Ts, 201s, they told me it was built off the same platform and they bumped it up another notch or two on performance. I said, how do you do that from an 020 or an 020 Super? They said, you're right, but they did. So you folks have a good day. I'm going to go back out, and it's cold, sprinkling and rainy. So I got to figure out what I'm going to do today, but something tells me I'm going to be sharpening chains, cleaning saws, and then getting ready to till a garden. So you have a good day, and remember, if you're trimming, now this isn't your price, this was my price, and it was MSRP as far as I know, $150 for this little devil. Charger, a weird carrying case that's not a draw of any kind. It's nice for packaging for them. They can throw it in a box. But the one battery and this. You'll be thinking about 2 batteries, and that'll be expensive, but might be worth a while. The other part is that, though, I think you're going to be impressed at the runtime on this thing. It's sweet. And remember, with all battery-operated things that you buy new, all of them, even with a lithium ion, your first 3 times you use the battery and cycle it. You run it down, charge it, run it, charge it, run it, charge it. And don't run it down till it's dead. Run it till it's low. Put it on the charger and run it through. About your 3rd cycle is when you get your full battery life. It's not quite the same as an iCAD. If you let it sit for a long period of time, your first charge may be a little off. And then you'll run that cycle, and then you'll be fine again. These things are sweet. Their batteries are excellent. You have a good day, and remember, don't buy junk. Buy it once. Snap-on has a thing to tell you. There is a difference. But the Snap-on man took it another place, and I said, hey, what do you got cheap on the truck today? He says, I have nothing cheap anywhere on this truck. And we all said the same thing. You ain't kidding. It takes months to pay for it. He laughs. He says, yes, but when you don't have to replace it, it's inexpensive. Inexpensive, not cheap. See ya.